Hello to everybody that's joining us today. My name is Camila Rivera-Tinsley. I am the Executive Director of the Women and Girls Foundation. And every month we get together and I have conversations with amazing women who are doing transformational work in their communities and making a huge impact. And generally, these conversations focus on the intersection of equity, gender equity, sustainability, and environmental justice. Gender justice, and just so many things that are important and can lift us all up. Today, I'm so pleased that I get to have as my guest the powerful, amazing Miss Miracle Jones. And I can't wait to talk to you about all of your work and about the topics that you find that you think are most important right now as we're being bombarded by just so many things these days. All right, so I'll jump in and just say welcome. Thank you so much for joining me.
And thank you so much for having me. You know, does a wonderful job with the Women and Girls Foundation, and it is my honor to be here with you all today.
Well, thank you. So my first question for you is, I know you through your work with One Hood Power, and I'm curious about, what has been your journey? Tell us a little bit about your organization and your journey to get to the space that you're in.
This is everybody always laughs when I tell this story. So my name is Miracle Jones. I'm the Director of Advocacy and Policy of One Hood and the Director of Legislative Affairs of One Hood Power, a C3 and our sister C4 organization. One Hood, we're a social justice arts organization, and One Hood Power, so we're a C4 organization working to build liberated communities through electoral power and community engagement. And so I came to One Hood back in 2020 because I was applying for jobs and my boss found out about it and was like, hey, actually, I think Miracle would be a better fit at One Hood than the job she's applying for. So if y'all don't hire her, I promise I will hire her. And he had to said he scouted, I scouted her. I did a trade, but I had no idea. And so I just walked into a room and they were like, you have this job. The other job you want, you're not going to get. And I was like, oh, well, thanks. I
Okay.
guess I'm here now, right? And so I've been here since 2020. Um, COVID happened, obviously, and that was just a change. Like I got hired to actually teach youth civic
Mhm.
engagement, and then within a month, the Schumann was closed, and I was like, "You can't be in Schumann anymore. We're pivoting," and because of white supremacy. When COVID happened, a lot of people like black people can't get COVID or there are no black medical professionals. There's no one who cares about COVID in the black community. And so then we pivoted to doing more podcasts, which led to, what Black Pittsburgh needs to know and This Week in White Supremacy, the podcast that we're still doing today. And so out of like change, a lot of people have gotten to know me doing that work, the advocacy, the engagement, the voter registration, the voter mobilization, because I believe it's very important that we have equitable communities, livable communities where we all can live and thrive and be safe. And so that is some of the work that I do.
And you do amazing work, and your work really resonates with me and with WGF because we also work on that sort of civics empowerment, civics engagement. I'm really particularly focusing on women and femmes and girls, but we work together in some spaces. It's important that everybody is engaged. So really appreciate that you're in the space.
Mhm.
So I know that you have a background in social work.
Mhm.
So how does your background, or how did your background in social work help you or lend itself to the work that you are doing now, which is like a little bit different than you started out, right? So I
Yeah.
I heard about how amazing you were in the education space. I know you had done some education with our Girl Govers,
Mhm.
but how does that translate to your work with advocacy and also with this media, like this mixed media lens?
Mhm. So in social work, you are taught to look at the world through the micro, macro, and meso levels. Not to traumatize anybody who's like, I graduated and never want to hear that again. But you're taught to look at the world in systems and how systems impact people. And I think it's very important because when you're working with people, sometimes your default is to look at how people are harming each other And with social work, you learn how systems are doing that. So you're able to have a broader reach and approach to how you build policy and how you engage policy and how you educate folks and bring people together. So, like you said, the world, there's a lot of stuff happening in the world. I look at it like a lot of stuff is happening in the world on like the meso macro level because the world wants to harm us on the micro level. So then how do I get people and organize people on the micro level to change how the macro and meso level operates within our communities, within our societies? And so social work has given me the tools and the framing to problem solve, to build communities, to understand what supports and resources people need, but to also be able to organize better because people can come out, but when people coming out, are they getting foods? Are they getting access to shelter? Are they getting access to resources? Are they being able to meet other people who are in similar situations as them? Do they now understand who the decision makers are? And so I think social work, for all its good and bad, it gives you really a great foundation to build, to engage, and to connect people and to actually change the systems and how they operate in people's lives.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And really love that approach of, what's happening on the grassroots level, what's happening with these individuals that the system is really affecting. And there's such a gap between, like you said, that macro level and what's happening on the ground. And we definitely need folks like you that are in that space, sort of translating between those levels.
Yeah. I saw a graphic, a meme that was like, if you still care about the world, congratulations. You have been able to succumb over $1 billion worth of propaganda and division to make you still care. And that's something that I think that we forget about is like we are being attacked on all levels, like by design, because people do not want us to care about the environment, do not, especially want us to care about women and girls, do not want us to care about each other. And so to be able to do this hard work and be able to still care, it's like we are like fighting so many systems, but we're actually building a new and better world, and we can't forget that.
That really highlights and leads in perfectly to
Mhm.
the next point or the next question that I was going to ask you. So, yes, we are overwhelmed. We are bombarded with intentionally with misinformation, with harmful information. And right now, I'm just really thinking about if we just removed, those sort of party affiliations, and we looked at what the policies are and how the policies will affect us, how would that influence how people are actually showing up to vote or not showing up to vote or how they vote, right? So, with this idea of misinformation, one of the issues that's kind of been, important to me as an environmentalist is around these AI data centers
Mm.
conversation. And it seems like it's getting closer and closer to home. So I just read a couple of days ago, or maybe a couple of weeks ago, that now there's going to be an AI center that's planned right outside of Pittsburgh. So fairly close, to the city. And so when I think about that, and I think about how much you have talked about these issues, what are some of your top concerns? And what is the misinformation that's out there that is confusing people?
I was actually watching a video of Toni Morrison like yesterday. It was talking about how art is dangerous, right? And she was talking about art being this tool that allows, for a revolutionary mind building and raising of consciousness. But we've also seen in the past couple of years is art being used for misinformation, disinformation, particularly with AI. There was fake videos of like the former president falling or saying things that he didn't say. There are people doing robocalls using folks' voice, telling them like the election was on the wrong date, right? So we have really seen misinformation be pushed by AI that has really created a disinformation industry for folks that have allowed people to be disenfranchised. But outside of what's happening in the digital world, the actual world, right? The AI data centers are stealing water, it's poisoning air and the land, it's increasing cancer rates, asthma rates. It's also basically in some counties making their electric bills and their utility bills. become sky high, right? And it is not even paying off for a lot of these places. The amount of money that they're getting from these data centers isn't paying off, right? You give so many subsidies for to these companies at the very beginning, so that's less tax revenue. Then you're paying these companies are paying people minimum wage, so it's again, wage theft and loss of revenue, and it's poisoning people, right? Traditionally, it's in poor Black and working class neighborhoods that these data centers are being built in. And I think about what's happening in Tennessee. I think about what's happening in Memphis. And, it started in poor working class neighborhoods. Now it's in the suburbs. Now it's in rural areas. And people are like, I have no water pressure. Like my neighborhood has no water because of these data centers here in Pennsylvania. They're talking about bringing back coal, actual coal mining, to fund the energy needed for these data centers that are literally going to now poison us and kill us in the real world, as well as poison our minds online. And I think a lot of times people see the fight against data and AI as, once again, leftists and progressives and environmentalists don't know what they're talking about. I am someone who believes that in order to advance, in order, to move on to the next level in life, you don't have to cause harm, right? And I know people want to fight with China and you want to fight with this country. Why are we fighting other countries, right? Why can't we just share our education and our resources so that we have clean energy and clean technology and clean advancement, right? But when you're using AI, and which is very unfortunate, even here in Pittsburgh, when you're using AI as a weapon and when you're using AI as something to push profit, you're always going to harm folks. And so much of this data center industry is about, the war industry, the militarism industry, which by default is a death industry. And so we're trying to get people to understand that development does not require death, development does not require displacement, development does not require disunity. Development could and should be good. But because people are using it as a means for profit and death, this is where we are. And it's just mind boggling to me. I think everyone should really be paying attention to what's happening in the South. It always starts in the South and it moves up first. And what's going on with these data centers are just horrible. It is horrible. People are not getting wages. People are getting sick. People are dying. People are being evicted. People are being displaced. It is not good. And it's for these billionaires who already are hoarding wealth and are already attacking our democracy. And they're trying to do even more now. And I do think that as people start to feel the impact, like you see it online already with the AI. But now when people are like, why is my electric bill so high? Why is my water bill so high? Why do I have to pay now more for gas? Like, what is going on? And when they start to understand it's because of these data centers, I think they'll wake up more. By then. I hope it's not too late.
Yeah, you make such a good point. It's I wish that the human condition was different, that we would be able to have the capacity to care about others before our own lives were impacted or our own rights were being
Mhm.
and I wish that for like so many that could apply to so many issues that we are experiencing right now. Um, and think you made such a good point with the data centers, from a purely economic standpoint, I think, we're not thinking long term here. And the data centers, the jobs that they are going to provide once they're built. So yes, you have the folks that are building, the construction industry is going to come out and
Mhm.
jobs that are very limited in time. And then who's able to be employed by these data centers? Like less than 10 people. So, what does that really do for the region at a time when people are looking for jobs and they're really just looking to have their basic needs met? Which
Mhm.
love to take the time to remind people, or actually to inform people, that in the state of Pennsylvania, we are really, really lucky where we have our own sort of like Bill of Rights here. And one of the things in Pennsylvania that has been, actually codified is that we have the right to clean water here. So,
Mhm.
how do our rights here in the state of Pennsylvania sort of jive with these decisions that are being made that are affecting our rights to clean air, clean water, and just being able to live at the basic level.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing that up because what I tell people all the time, Pennsylvania's Constitution and our Bill of Rights is stronger for the people than the actual federal Constitution, right? This is the one time I'm like, yay, we're a Commonwealth. This is like the one time it's like, yes, we have like so many rights that are protected in our own Pennsylvania Constitution. And that is also why we have so many billionaires in Pennsylvania trying to rewrite the laws, trying to buy our democracy, trying to push they were politicians because they're trying to really erode those rights that we have. But the beauty of that is because we have these rights that are codified and protected, we then have a remedy, and that is the courts. Right. So when people are poisoning our water, when people are, we can go to the courts to get an injunction. We can also do these environmental surveys. And it is a lot more in depth than what I'm going to go into. But a lot of times in Pennsylvania, when there is new construction, you are able to require the people who are building whatever it is that they give a report about the environmental impact, how the environment is going to be impacted, how the community is going to be impacted. Those environmental surveys allow for people to know what's coming in their neighborhood. Now, what ends up happening and where there's tension is depending on what voting body is in this jurisdiction, they may be like, oh, okay, well, you got to be poison 60% of the community. Well, I live in the 40%, so I'm going to vote and allow this to go ahead and get built. And so that's something that's happened. You talked about the jobs. I will encourage people to go look at the Beaver Cracker plant, right? It was promised to be, it will be the plastic capital of the world. It's going to have all these jobs, all this type of stuff. And right now it is operating at what people will say is a loss. There are less jobs. It is an environmental disaster, and people are not being able to profit off of that. So now it's a visual eyesore in a community that did not want this plant to be built in the first place, and the politicians voted against the will of the people. And it's been less than 5 years. I also remind people a lot about the Penn Plaza here in Pittsburgh, right? That community that was displaced, right? Now that Whole Foods is empty. So when we're talking about people's lives being devastated for development and then it doesn't pay off in 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, we literally could have had a different system, a different way of being. And that is what we're trying to bring people to the table to see it like, okay, we don't have to live this way. And we can actually envision what does it look like to have clean air, clean water, clean jobs, fun communities for people to feel safe and really, really good investments, really good business, right? And that's why I talk about, we have to invest in the arts, we have to invest in tourism. I am someone who also advocates, I believe that we should have, our earth, our green earth as as a means of support if you understand that we're a family channel. So I'm just gonna let people, understand what I'm putting down. I do think there's different investments that we can make. I do think there's different ways that we can get revenue that does not require, bowing down to billionaires who are trying to destroy our country and our economy because they want a profit. I think that there is enough resources and that there's so many brilliant people in Pennsylvania who have great ideas about businesses and bringing people together that we do not have to keep allowing, our country and our neighborhoods to be, experiments for people to have like a bigger bank account.
What do you think are some things that people can actually do?
So one of my favorite sayings is like bloom where you are planted, right? Find the things that you care about locally and get involved locally. So find out where your local council meets, your local county council meets, your local school board. Like find out what those things are and try to go to those meetings, try to write your legislators, do things of that nature. Find the local groups in your area who are organizing, who are pushing back. Some of the groups that I really, really like you have 5051 in Pittsburgh. You have League of Women Voters. If people just want to get like the basic, understanding of like civics, League of Women Voters is a partisan group. You have the Women and Girls Foundation who do a lot of amazing work. You have Casa San Jose. You have One Hood. We talked about the Global Switchboard earlier in the World Affairs Council. These are organizations that do like really great work. And that's what I think is like very important. Not everybody's going to believe the same thing. And I'm gonna tell you, not everybody can be out here, protesting. We need people protesting. We need people marching. We need people writing legislation. We need people writing letters to the editor. We need people making phone calls. We need people cooking. Right? Harry Belafonte, he was paying people's rent. He was paying people's travel. He was hosting training sessions so people knew how to organize. You had like National Lawyers Guild, training lawyers and showing up in courtrooms. You have to find your skill set and figure out what you have to offer to liberation and do that thing. Like me, I can't be out here in the wilderness camping. So I can't give you survival training. I can teach you how to write a letter to the editor. I can teach you how to lobby. I can teach you how to go down to Harrisburg. I can teach you how to court watch and observe. But there's skills that I don't have, so I can't give you, right? And so I think it's very important that people understand that they need to figure out what their skills are, making sure their skills aren't harming other people, and then it's like plug in and go from there.
Oh my gosh, I love everything that you said.
Mhm,
And the power of community and connecting and coming together. And me just reflecting on how you have supported me in times when I
mhm,
didn't know what we all get weak sometimes. Like, what am I
mhm.
offering to the world and how can I do this in the most effective way? I love that you are putting that out there and that all of these skills, all of these tools that we bring to the table, they're all equally important. So I'm glad that you can teach
Mhm,
people about organizing and about reaching out to their local elected officials and all of these myriad ways. And me, I got you on being able to build a
mm.
fire and
Thank
it
you.
about me, but I also know about edible plants. So I used to, say when everything hits the fan, and if that ever happens, you know, I got you. We can go out and pick some dandelion leaves and some other things. So yes, just want to make
You are the captain now. I'm like, no, it's not. We're not gonna make it. But I think it's also, and I just remember like there were times when I would just forget to eat, right? And I would have friends like drop off food and be like, I know you're gonna eat today, right? There are things that we can do like for each other. Like I was having a bad day, and like my sibling was like, I'm gonna get you this little boo boo because I know you're like a bad day. And she's like, it's gonna come in the mail. So I'm gonna have another one for the, right? But there's sometimes there are just things that like you need people to like to pour it into you and to support you. And you also have to have people like to call you in and sit you down and be like, hey, what you're doing is not okay. What you're doing is wrong. Okay, I need to go read and be with my elders some more. And I think that like we are not always taught that, right? We are not always taught that we are human and we're going to make mistakes and we're going to be doing the best we can. And we're also not able to confront when like our best is not enough. I think about like that a lot of times, like the work that we're doing. Like it is like right now, it's just a lot. We've done so much these last 10, 15 years. And then like in just the last year and a half, 90% of our work was just like thrown away, right? I think that, when we think about like we had so many good environmental wins, we had so many good equitable wins. And this one administration was just like, we're just not gonna do this anymore. And we saw like so many people be like, oh, okay. And it was like, no, no, it's not okay. This is bad. And now that we're in a government shutdown and people see that, oh, we're not going to have food. There was a thing that came out that said we may not even have food stamps. People may not even have SNAP next month, right? So now people are like, oh, well, maybe we didn't. Now we probably should have been doing mutual aid. Now we need to know where the food banks are. And I was like, well, we told you 6 months. You needed to be giving out this information to folks, right? So now we are in this like crisis thing where a lot of people don't feel like it's a crisis because we've been doing the work and organizing for over a decade that we're able to fill in the gaps, right? But we cannot replace the government, right? We cannot, the church cannot, the religious center cannot, the mosque cannot, the synagogue cannot, we cannot replace the duties and the functions of our government. And so now people are starting to see like, okay, now we have to get back on the streets. Now we have to start applying pressure, right? I think about how the Delta CEO was able to write that one letter and then like the shutdown was over when COVID. It was like we needed to stay if we just had stayed and that shut down for 2 more weeks, right? We would have been able to fight this disease and now this illness is gonna be with us like the flu is, right? People are still dying from COVID-19 every single day, but because the one CEO was like, I'm tired of this, right?
yeah.
Our government was forced force people to open back up, force people to like come back to work too soon. And we had so much learning loss. We haven't even had a national day of mourning for all the people we lost. Like, we're thinking like, why is we lost so many people? And I don't think we've sat down and actually recognized that like so much of this disconnect is we've lost so much, and we haven't been able to grieve that because we just had to go, 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 go. And I think that as we're rebuilding and reflecting, people are understanding that we are human and we have to show up for each other. And our liberation really is tied together because now it's like, oh, this data center that's going to exploit workers is also going to like make my property values drop. Oh, nobody's going to want to come to my condo and high rise and they just see black and brown plumes, from the factory down the street. Like people are now like, oh, wait a minute, now I am impacted. Like now this is not good. And so now we all have to come in. And my friend, Dr. Moya Bailey, I used to say, the world is a globe. And as much as we want to throw people away, we cannot. So just because somebody is trash does not mean they're recyclable. And so we have to find people, allow people to make mistakes, bring people back in when it's safe to do so, but making sure that everybody is doing what they can to, like, to build a better world. And it's hard because there are some people that I do not like. And I every time I go into a meeting, I'm like, I gotta go talk to this. Like I just be like, it was so angry. I'm like so mad. Like, why is my liberation tied to this person's liberation? Like, why? But that's the reality of the world. Like I always say, we're not here to build friendships. Here to build a free future. And so, like that is the reality of the world because it's trash, but it can be recycled. And so that is what we are. That's what we are working on. To be very transparent, and that is what we are working on. That's what we're building for.
Yes, yes. I love that human spin that you've put
Mhm.
on all of these things, and just being real about the situation and real about how we have to move in the world, and also how we have to build bridges. And maybe sometimes we're working with people that we don't always agree with, but it is for a common goal because, and this is the thing that I have to remind myself, we have more in common than we don't, even though sometimes I don't believe that, but it is true. I always think we all love our children, we all love our family, we all love our partners. Like those are things that bring us together. So to focus on that piece of bringing us together, you mentioned you were talking about the ways that people can get involved. So I want to wrap this up by really focusing on One Hood because One
Mhm.
Hood is such an important organization. And also, I want to, education is so important. So the work that you are doing with the community and the work that we are both doing with young people to let them know about things like why the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is so amazing and what our rights actually are here and how you can leverage those. Those are the things that give me hope, and give me, just yeah, just give me a little bit of hope and sometimes joy too. I got to snatch those moments of joy. So, for people who want to find One Hood as a community and as a space where they can come together and make a difference in the world, how can they find you, and how can they follow you? And what do you want to tell the world about One Hood?
Yes, there's so many things that One Hood does. We did for this year try to be more intentional about not always doing public facing things. We're trying to figure out what is safe for people and how can people, like, engage. But we come to our showcases. On We are One Hood Media on like Instagram and Facebook, and One Hood on X, formerly Twitter. Um, we are onehood.org online, for our C3 and One Hood Power, across all the socials. Like, come to our events, like join our mailing list if you're able to, send a donation, but like show up. So we do calls for volunteers. We do get out the vote work. We do food, support on Sundays and Wednesdays. We have a direct service project called Community Care, which is in Pittsburgh, and we table outside of the jail from 5 to 8 p.m. every Wednesday. We give people food, clothing, bus passes, different community supports. Sometimes we have a clinic there. Sometimes we have mental health professionals there, just trying to help people that are navigating homelessness, displacement, and incarceration. Do the same thing on Sundays. It's usually later on in the afternoon. So please like get involved. Like we need people to engage, to show up, to support, to learn about the rights. We are going to be launching our next iteration of our People, Politics, and Power Academy. So we pick a couple of days, and we do like a 10-week training program. We do this, we've done this twice now. And we just train people about civic engagement, and it's nonpartisan. And we have people come in and we learn. We have professionals come in and teach people. Well, these are things that we're trying to do. So we're going to do it on our C3 side and different on our C4 side. Um, and then we have some community kickbacks and things that we're doing in some community salons. But next year is our 20th anniversary for our C3. So I believe we said August 11th, but I may be lying. So don't, quote me on that. But we're going to have our 20th anniversary celebration next year. So keep a lookout for that. But, it's really important that we show up. We've done a lot of trainings, a lot of conversations. I have a project called Brunch with a Black Man, which is a mental health podcast. And a lot of people are struggling right now, and we need to rely on each other. We need to come out to these different events just to be in a community. Just sometimes it's helpful to see that there are great people in the world. There are good people in the world. So I do hope that you follow us on social media. I do hope that you come to some of our events. I'm not sure when this is airing, but we post our events on our social media. We email them out. They are, people are welcome. We are a Muslim-led organization, so we do not have alcohol at our events. So if you're someone who's, trying to be sober, all of our one events, are, sober parties or tea parties, and so come through. They're always family friendly, and if they're not, we put that on the flyer, 18 and up or 21 and up, so you don't have to worry about, can I bring my family or will there be an issue? No, always come out, always join, and I hope that you love the work that we do and you get involved and you can get our swag online and everything. So please make sure you come out and support us.
Well, thank you for sharing all of that. You can find WGF online at wgfpa.org. You can also find our youth programming at GirlGov on all of the different social media platforms. And I look forward to sharing all the information about One Hood and about the amazing programs that you all have coming up down the line. And I also look forward to showing up and just being able to get some of that community that we all need and that I know that I crave, and to just get the blessings that you are, Miracle, because you are a gift to the world. So thank you so much for joining me. Thank you all, and we'll talk to you next month.